unbelievable numbers, and that Israel is committing a genocide. Well, Colonel Richard Kemp, who was in charge of the British forces in Afghanistan, in Helmut province, made it his retirement project to see exactly how many combatants were killed as opposed to civilians in general in in wars involving buildings and cities and towns. And he found that in general it's between 4 to 6 civilians to 1 combatant. That's American and British forces fighting in Iraq and everywhere else. That's the usual number. Surprise, surprise, Israel's average is 1.5 civilians to 1 combatant. So if there are 42,000 dead in Gaza, it means that actually nearly 20,000 of them were combatants. But nobody mentions it. Not one TV station says, actually that number, which we get from the Hamas Health Authority, is incorrect. It's ridiculous. That was one major thing which I think we all probably know, but it should be made aware. And please, if you can, write or ring or telephone the BBC and Sky and all the media outlets to tell the truth for a change.
Yes.
Not what they think or think that is right. I'm not going to talk about the perfidiousness of what Biden's been doing lately, and Macron and all our other allies, so-called. I will mention something about, as a Holocaust survivor, I was asked, give a little talk about that. Well, I brought along a picture. You probably all know it. It's the boy from the Warsaw Ghetto, yes? Does it ring a bell? Yeah. He survived, actually. He wasn't murdered like most of the others. His name was Ariel Simonson, and he survived by hiding in a cargo ship, in a cargo boat on the river, and then making an escape. His entire family were murdered. He had no one left when he returned, sitting on top of a Russian tank, returned to Warsaw. And after a year or so, he was taken to Palestine, as it then was. Luckily, he was taken there because there was a huge quota, and he survived. And he actually fought in 3 of Israel's wars. He was just about old enough to take part in the War of Independence as a very young boy, and then in the 1956 war, and then in the 67 war. He actually retired near Wall, down the road, and that's where I met him about 15 years ago. He married an English girl, and they retired here, not far from Bourne. Amazing story. He has written a book, so it might be useful to, if you want to know it. But it just shows you, the Israeli soldiers at that time, half of the army at the time of the War of Independence were former inmates of concentration camps. As soon as they got off the boat, there was a rifle was stuck in their hands and said, here you go, off you go to the Negev or somewhere, 2 or 3 days training at most. And out of the 6,000 soldiers that fell during the war, at least half had been in concentration camps and had managed to get to Israel by hook or by crook. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, and thank you all for being here.